Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story Podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. Today, I have the pleasure to have a conversation with Cappe. She's a music artist, entrepreneur, and activist. Really cool woman, ladies. She's the founder of several businesses, including Triple Effect Social, which provides customized Instagram business strategies, consultings, and trainings for creative entrepreneurs, small businesses, and artists. So Triple Effect was founded to help others get their unique voices out in the world and maximize the power of Instagram for their businesses. Alex, thank you for joining me today. I know you're a busy lady. We're also recording this during a unique year of 2020 when we have businesses that have had a lot of ahas on some really positive notes and some pivots going on there. So welcome. Thanks for creating the time and thanks for being here. Simple as that.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, listeners, I have to tell you, I really wanted to interview Alex because I am truly on the cutting edge of learning more and more about Instagram. This pandemic has gifted me this opportunity, and here's why. I have my adult daughter living with me who actually showed me some tricks that I had no idea you can do. And if anybody's following me on Instagram, you could see some of the learning curves, faux pas, and revelations. How did this get started for you, Alex?
Well, I'm a music artist, so I started out that way, and I used Instagram to boost my music career. So I needed a way to get my music out to the world and get it to, a bigger audience. And so I started to go on all the social media platforms, and I found that Instagram was one where I could really connect with people. I was really getting good interactions, and people were excited to hear my music in different parts of the world. And I was able to just build a broader base than I was on any other platform. So that is how I got started. And once I'd figured out some strategies there that worked, and I was growing and, getting more gigs and sales and things like that, other people started to ask me, how did you do this? I'm on Instagram. I'm not having anything happen. So that is when I realized I can actually help other people with this same thing. And I founded my business, Triple Effect Social.
And so that's, I'll always say there's a separation in the masses of the people who have this idea and say, wow, can I help people? And then the people who take action and actually start businesses and move into that. So, yes. In reference that you've had several businesses. You've also seen in your journey a lot of opportunity and some things that worked and then did not work out. And that makes us incredibly strong. And for you, it's made you a woman who takes action.
Yes, that is true. There's been lots of things that have changed over time, and I've had to fall on my face a bunch of times to figure out, what doesn't work, what does work, how can I keep moving this forward, because everything is changing and you've got to keep momentum.
So share a little bit about your journey in getting here.
So as I said, I'm a music artist. So I started out in a small town, and I had big dreams of coming to LA when I grew up. So I moved out to LA for music and acting, and I started to play different gigs around LA. And I got signed to a label after a little while, which was very exciting. And I figured that everything was going to be perfect after that. They were just going to get my music out, and I was going to be a huge superstar, and everything would be easy from there on. Which was a silly thing to believe, but that's what I believed at the time. And so we worked really hard on putting together a great set of songs, and we had musicians coming in, and we were putting together a show, and all of that was moving forward. And right at the cusp, when it was about to happen, we were about to release it, the label folded. So I got called in to the office and said, you know what, I'm sorry to tell you that the label's going to fold. And so everything that we've done is now gone. And those 10 songs we recorded, not going to come out. And you can have them if you have $50,000 to pay us. and I didn't at the time. So it was just sort of this dramatic moment where everything was about to happen and then it was all taken away just as quickly. And it sort of traumatized me. I just fell into a downward spiral from that, and lost my way for a while, and actually had to leave LA for a little bit and go back to my hometown in Ohio and sort of regroup. And it was there that I really started to dive into social media, because I figured I need a way to do this. I need a grassroots manner where I can take action on this. I'm not going to wait for another label. And how can I build this? What are the things that I need? And what have people tried that have worked and haven't worked? And so that's when I really dove into social media and started to build up that fan base. I moved back to LA, and a bunch of other things happened from that. After the fan base was growing, then other people came knocking and said, oh, we would love to have your song in our film, or we would love to have a music video. And so these other opportunities started to arrive. And people were excited to hear my songs and telling me this song got me through my breakup. And so those kinds of things were happening.
So one of the things I love about your story and is so insightful to you and who you are as a woman, is you had, everything was, and it's not that you didn't work hard in your music and you got a record gig because you worked hard, and you are good and you are fabulous in X, Y, and Z. But when it fell apart, you might have taken a pause. You showed back up. Mm-hmm. You showed back up with this determination to be the master of your own destiny and not allow anybody to say what could or could not be possible for you.
Exactly. I think we have to take it into our own hands sometimes.
And in doing that, other opportunities that might not have happened or happened uniquely, i.e., music videos and being part of movies and other opportunities started showing up. And with that, the opportunity for your business. Share a little bit more about what, when people started approaching you, what was the thing that turned that dial and said, wait a second, is this a business?
Yeah. I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur or business person. And that was a surprising revelation to me, that I actually had been one all along. And so I realized people said, I am on these platforms and I am not getting traction. People are not, finding me. I'm not growing. I'm not getting people, coming to me for sales. So I realized that I really had developed something, and the idea of helping other people use this platform for their messages and getting, their business out to the world was exciting to me, that I'd figured out something that worked, and that, I can help other people with this. So I started to work with some business coaches who then helped me realize that this really was an actual business that could be created. And at that point, I started to develop more programs and packages, and figure out how to talk to people about this and how to get in front of the right people who could use this amazing platform.
So share a little bit about your business today.
So it's called Triple Effect Social, and we do customized Instagram strategies for businesses, creative entrepreneurs. We also do trainings, consulting, and we do management, which means we take over everything for you. So that a lot of CEOs and busy business people just say, please take this off my plate. We don't want to do it. Can you please do this for me? So that is one of the things that I found people really want. They don't necessarily want to be shown. Some people want the DIY route. They want to say, okay, here's how to do it. I'll do it myself. And some people say, just do it for me. So those are kind of the two roads. And I'm also doing trainings. I do an Insta Stories boot camp, which is really fun, just to teach people all about stories, because that's a really important component of Instagram. We have over 500 million people on stories now. So it's really a way that people are discovering things and connecting with people in a more personal way. There can be some more vulnerability in things in stories that not necessarily, they wouldn't come through on posts. So those are some of the different things that we do. And I'm constantly just sort of taking feedback from people and trying to meet the need, as it comes.
How do you keep up with all the changing times of Instagram, social media? It's an activity unto itself, it seems.
It is. I am not going to sugarcoat it and say you can just learn it once and be fine. You do have to keep up with it. So I'm, subscribed to a bunch of different mailing lists, and I look at different other trainings from other people. I'm looking at what Instagram itself tells us, which is less than some other platforms do. They don't like to be really transparent about how their algorithm works. So it's a matter of figuring out who can tell me about this, and just it takes time to stay on top of it. But I feel like that's part of my responsibility in this business, is just to know what's happening and to know, like, well, now this hashtag's not working, or now stories are the thing, so that I can pass that along to people, so that they don't have to be sitting there, listening to these things and scouring the internet for information.
So you're a creative soul. You're a musician. You're an artist. How do you balance your heart between the business and the creativity? I think, and by the way, listeners, I am just hitting Alex with unprepped questions left, right, and sideways. But I adore, it's only so often you get to talk to somebody who's such a true artist, who's come into business. And I think there's great energy there. I think there's great what you can do, because you take your creative side and your business side. But how do you find the balance for yourself as an artist and a businesswoman?
That's a great question. And I'm still finding the balance, would be part of the answer. But I think my heart is very strong in what it wants. And so I have to keep that part of myself. I also have to be practical. And so it's a matter of sort of figuring out how to use those two things in my life. And part of what I'm really passionate about is helping people find their creativity. So there's a lot of people who have sort of abandoned it at some point, whether they're a business owner or, a mom or whatever they might be, and just sort of reconnect them with that part of themselves. And then they can use that in any aspect of their lives. They can use it in their relationships. They can use it to build a business. They can use it to, speak up for themselves in terms of asking for a bigger salary. So I think creativity, it gives you a voice. And I think that's really important, especially for women. In the last few years, we've really had a bigger opportunity for women to find their voices and use them. And so I'm excited to be part of that. And so Instagram is one of the ways in which you can use that voice. And it's a creative platform. If you look at it as something fun, it can be, if you're a creative person, you can look at it as a branch of your creativity. Well, how can I do this? And what kind of an interesting post can I do? And for creative people, it becomes a lot more fun that way, that rather than this other task on your to-do list. And for less creative people, it works too. So you can approach it either way. But I just find that people tend to have more fun if they realize that they can really sort of put something different into it than they can into some of their other marketing.
So in this journey of musician, of business owner, what has surprised you? Where have the surprises been?
The surprises have, a lot of it, like I said, was just to realize that I could be a business owner. I learned a lot from my business mentors and coaches, especially about pricing, because as a musician, I'm really not good at asking for money, and got very used to not being valued, spending 100 hours on a song and people won't pay 99 cents for it. So to then, how do I put together a package for a business owner who wants to take their Instagram to the next level? Well, do I charge them $5? How do I actually learn how to be a business person and approach things in that way? And so it's been interesting to me to do that. And also just to learn to, leap before the net is there, which I have done as a musician, which sounds kind of like a musician thing, but I was much more a rehearser. So with business, I've had to learn to just, I'm going to create this thing, and before it's totally done, I'm going to offer it and I'm going to figure it out as it happens, rather than waiting till everything is perfect. And so the fact that I can do that, and that I haven't, the world hasn't ended when I don't go out with perfection, has been really interesting to me, and sort of changed my perception of everything.
I love the expression as you use it, leap before the net is there, but also knowing that it will be there in your heart of hearts, in that knowledge that I will be okay no matter what.
Right.
And so you take that leap, you take the unknown step.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I would like to pass on to people is just, I was very hesitant to do that before I started this business. And just the fact that you can, and the more that you do it, the more your confidence builds that you can handle anything that's thrown at you. So I'm sure a lot of business owners have this already down. But for those who don't, who are maybe hesitating, well, I need to have my entire marketing plan done, or I need to have everything finished before I can X, Y, or Z, that actually you don't. You need to start it, and then you need to get out there with it, and you can figure it out as you go. And you will be okay, and you will figure it out.
It's so true. And for years, I always said, come up with an idea, write out the talking points, and then go sell it. And they're like, no, you have to develop it first. I'm like, no, I just need my talking points. I know it's going to get developed, and I'd rather develop something that I'm paid for.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
So in living and building a business and continuing to expand your business during this unusual year of 2020, anything that any ahas or learning lessons or interesting points that you have discovered this year?
Well, it's been an interesting time. I think sort of balancing how to keep yourself sane during this time with continuing on with your business, and how to be kind with self-care. All those things have been an important mixture that has been different than how we've approached it before. I do think that the prevalence of social media and the importance of it has really been heightened during this time, not only for business, but for personal. Like, if we hadn't had social media to stay connected with everyone right now, I'm not really sure what would have happened. So it's actually become a lifeline for a lot of people in that way.
That's
and then
a great
also
point.
I think sometimes, what if this had been prior to social media? So it can get this negative connotation to it. Sometimes people think, oh, social media, but actually it's helped us stay connected. And it also has become really important for businesses to be on there. I would say more important than before this pandemic, because so many things have moved online. So many people have had to pivot and create businesses online and virtual, events and things like that. So it's become more important, and I think it will stay more important. And I'm not saying that for my own purposes. I just really think that this is where we are going forward in the future.
I think that's very true. And I love the idea and the thought process behind how connected it has kept us. Because I saw my cousin just did X, Y, and Z because I saw it on social media. But then I also then took the next action and said, hey, saw this, welcome, and did the personal connection as well.
Right. So it can be used both ways. And I think sometimes it can get confusing, which way am I using this? But I think it's been really useful. And obviously Zoom has been a lifeline for people in its own way. So we just found ways to connect. I think that's the point, is that we're all in the same situation at the same time. And there's this bigger sense of connection in the world everywhere, because, everyone in the world is in the quarantine at the same moment. And so we are all connected, and here's how we can speak to each other about it.
Any tips or thoughts you'd like our listeners to know as far as starting a business, growing, mentoring, combining where your background is arts and you're still you're still producing music and writing music and performing music? You're doing so much. There's so much knowledge here. If there's a tip or two that you would like our audience to know about in what's possible.
I think that we need to be flexible in thinking about how to utilize the talents that we have. I would not have thought about using some of these creative parts of my brain instead of writing a song to, create a business, because it is creating a business. I think one of the most important things I've learned is just to have mentors, and also, working with business coaches or somebody in that vein has been so useful. Just, you need somebody there to kind of guide you. If I hadn't had that, I don't know if I could have built this. So the idea of having a community and having, guidance and somebody who's been there before to help lead the way. I think that's important to reach out for. And I've done a lot of just, I'm going to do everything by myself and I don't need anybody else. And that has not been a very smart way to operate. So the more I've leaned into other people and realized they can help me and I can help them and be part of a community of entrepreneurs or, women or whatever kind of community you're in, it's so important for building your business, building your confidence, keeping you sane during difficult times. So yeah, I would say the leaping before you're ready, having somebody to help hold you accountable, and to keep that creative part of yourself alive. Because if that's something that's important to you and you suppress it, you're not going to be happy in whatever business you create. You have to figure out how to interweave parts of that into what you're doing, which I think you have done as well. So I'm sure you can speak to that also.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think what my unique ability is in what I do as a coach consultant is one of the greatest assets for me is my background in the creative side. Because when we think about, hey, this stopped here, it's like, yeah, well, there was the day that I had the flu and I had to perform that night. How did I do that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so how am I going to do? It didn't stop me then, and I knew I had to do X, Y, and Z to make that happen. Needed a lot of fluids. I needed whatever it was. It's that showing up with what can I do. And there's always going to be obstacles. There's going to be challenges in our path. This year in 2020, we have some very unique ones and I will always say, out of all these experiences, amazing opportunity and next growths are built when you're willing to connect to it.
Right. You said something in a previous conversation where you said that it's different how creative people and non-creative people approach things, because the creative people will say, well, the show must go on. Whatever is happening to me, if I'm sick, if I broke my ankle, whatever it is, I still got to get out there. And so then they take that energy over to their business. Well, this isn't working, that isn't working. Okay, we got to figure out how to make it work. So I think that's a real asset that people can, move over into that part of their lives.
Exactly. There's no performer who doesn't get on stage because of small ache and pain. It has to be pretty damn big to stop them from taking their center stage. And our businesses are our center stage.
Right. Not to say that you shouldn't take a moment for self-care time to time, but the show must go on and you have to keep moving forward. Even amid a pandemic, you have to figure out how you can make it work. If you're really sincerely wanting to help people with something, then you have to figure out how you can continue to help them, no matter what obstacles pop up.
So what are some of the things you do to take care of yourself? Just curious.
Well, continuing to play my music is always one, to write, to play my guitar, to continue to record songs. But just getting out into nature, I guess, would be one, which is probably pretty common. Staying connected to friends, whether it's texting or Zooming or whatever it might be. And I don't necessarily do the best job at this. I know it's easier to tell people to do it than it is to do it yourself. But I mean, I think some self-pampering in ways would be really useful. And also just giving yourself, being easier on yourself and not saying, if you don't do this today, then, it's the end of the world. Like just giving yourself a moment, you can use a little bit more time on this and it's okay at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I think we need to nurture ourselves, nurture our inner spirit now more than ever. And everybody find your thing. It doesn't have to be a right thing. It's not the wrong thing. Alex, if it's your music, of course. For me, it's playing in my garden. And I said actually on an interview for myself earlier today, it's like, it's time today that I need to just get my hands dirty. I need to kind of get muddy. I need to get dirty. It's channeling, and there's no right and wrong, listeners. It's finding your thing. I love my acupuncture. I love my massage. Some of the things we can do right now and some things we can't. But find your thing that brings you joy, peace, and nurtures your inner spirit. And let that then mobilize and have the impact on your business and your success.
I agree. I would add an exercise up is something really important, because even though we're tired by everything that's going on, there's still a lot of other kinds of energy there that if we don't get that out, then it can kind of just fester within us. So I think exercise is an important component too, but you're completely right. Finding whatever it is for you that does that. And if you don't find it right away, just keep exploring until you find that thing. And then you feel okay with it. You'll know it'll, sink into place. And then you can do whatever you do from there.
Well, Alex, thank you for joining me here today. Let our listeners know, how could they follow you, learn more on both sides, the Instagram side as well as the music side?
So my website is tripleeffectsocial.com, and all my social media, including Instagram, my handle is at tripleeffectsocial. And what else? So I have another business called Creative Self Revolution, which is where I help people with the creative side. And so that one is creativeselfrevolution.com, and then all the social platforms at Creative Self Revolution. So if you're interested in that creative side, but either way, you're going to get some creativity. And if you follow, I would love to follow you back and see what you're doing.
Fabulous. Listeners, all that information is in the show notes below, so don't panic. Don't worry you missed a spelling. I would check out Alex on both sides because she is a creative genius as well as a brilliant strategist. So check out her links, follow her, and remember, she's going to follow you back. Remember to follow us on Her Success Story. Let us know below what your biggest takeaways was from listening today. What the biggest impact was for you. We want to know so we can best serve you better and give you more great interviews as Alex and I's conversation was. Also, hit subscribe. We come into your inbox, fresh content, French interviews every Monday morning. See you on the next episode of Her Success Story. Thanks again for joining us.
Got mine.